views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
On the cutting edge of the new mainstream, Christine Upchurch is passionate about bringing together science, psychology, and spirituality in a way that can be applied to our everyday lives for true transformation. The Christine Upchurch Show, stellar conversations to illuminate your journey, engages some of the most inspired visionaries on the planet in lighthearted, lively dialogue. Join us as we explore the expansive nature of reality in a down-to-earth way, offering you insights and tools, empowering you to become that bright light you're meant to be. Now, here's your host, Christine Upchurch.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Christine Upchurch Show here on KKNW, AM 1150 here in the Seattle area, on WBLQ, AM 1230 radio in Connecticut, Rhode Island, and New York, on one of 35 stations in Australia, or anywhere around the world on Transformation Talk Radio. And I tell you, wherever you're listening from today, I'm so grateful you're joining us here today because we are going to be talking about something that plagues everybody. And I'm not going to tell you what that is until I say hello to my better half here in the studio who does his magic so you can hear this show, Mr. Benny Mathers. Good morning, Benny.
Hi, Christine, or good day to you and everybody out there. We're back in the saddle again.
We are, yes. I
With
had to,
little coughs.
Yes, I had to get off the horse last week completely because I'm so good at not getting sick, generally speaking, but this flu got me and got me bad.
Well, I think that's a great excuse you have working for you right now, but I do believe you had a birthday last week, too. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking you just went a little too hard last week.
It's funny because my birthday happened to be on a snow day here.
So,
Lost
like
power,
I said, you
lost
gotta make up
power
for
at
it.
my house, but
Likely
PSE
story.
came through and they gave me my power back for my birthday. Only like 12 hours without power. So
To the
that was
power
good.
people.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
I had fun driving it around in it, so it's good times.
Yeah, it was nice to see snow. But then when it turned to ice, it wasn't so great.
Yeah, but the birthday went okay?
It was nice, yeah. Both my boys had snow days, so I actually did a little sledding on my birthday.
Yay!
Yeah.
See, come on now. That sounds like a great time.
It was. It
Okay.
was,
All right.
yes. So, in life, we make decisions on a daily basis. And then sometimes we have issues either, completing our decisions or we start to doubt ourselves. And really, I haven't thought too much about this process, but our guest today has. I'm talking about Ann Tucker. She is a recognized speaker who has addressed audiences around the world on topics of things such as leadership, personal transformation, decision-making, and the psychology of doubt. And we're going to talk a lot about doubt today. She's the founder of Wisdom Soup, which is an online social learning community. And she's the co-founder of Gray Matter Partners. Love that name. A leadership development firm in Seattle. She's the author of this book that I've got right before me here called Undoubtedly Awesome. Your own personal roadmap from doubt to flow. I'd like to welcome our guest today, Ann Tucker. Hi, Ann. Welcome.
Hi. Thanks so much.
It's funny because although I'm aware enough about some of the doubt that I have and the mixed feelings I have about certain decisions I've made, I've never really thought in terms of like a structure associated with it. What gave you the motivation to share with people things about about decision-making processes and doubt?
Well, it's a good question. I think the decision-making was always a focus in terms of my career. So coming out the gate, I used to be a negotiator for Microsoft, and then when I went into consulting, I was working with executives, but always around this, looking specifically at their thought processes, how they made decisions. And you know that our thoughts are powerful, right? And they create our reality. And when our thoughts are distributed, where we don't really know where we're going, they're diffuse. And you take that power and you spread it out in a bunch of different directions, it has a lot less impact. Decisions serve as like a focusing tool. right? They're like a prison that takes all that energy and focuses it down. When you make a real decision, when you're really committed to a direction, takes all that energy and points it in one specific direction.
Right, makes sense.
Yeah, so if you look at what is the most impactful place where you could focus in terms of if you're going to have a big impact in your life, your decisions.
Mm-hmm. And it seems like it's not just the energy surrounding the thoughts. It also has to do with our emotions associated with the decision, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. The emotions are actually how you make decisions. You know, we're thinking through, and it's logical. The logical brain plays a very important part. But at the end of the day, the piece of us, a part of us that chooses whether we like something or not, it's your emotions.
Okay. So why is it the decisions, specifically, are so important?
It is for that reason that it is such an important part about how you define your reality. So if you're, in terms of as you're going through life, if you were to focus in on what is the one thing I can work on that's going to give me the biggest bang for my buck, that's going to have the biggest impact in how you're able to impact your life, decision-making would be it. It's the beginning of everything you do, right? Everything you decide to do, you choose to do, it all starts with a decision, right. And it determines everything that comes next. Mm-hmm.
And I was just thinking today, a very small example. I am driving here, and I take freeways to get here typically. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, the freeway was very backed up, and it was fairly close to, where I needed to get, but I would have to take a different exit. So it's like, I ended the phone call I was on. I had to make the quick decision because I was either going to sit in traffic or go an alternate route, but I wasn't very sure about what that alternate route was going to be, so I had to rely on Siri on my iPhone. But it was the sort of thing where I had to sort of commit to it one way or another, or else, I might not get here in time. Right.
Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
There's throughout your day, there's going to be those sorts of little decisions that have an impact in terms of what comes next. So, and the interesting thing is that the decision process that you went through to choose which freeway off-ramp to take or which direction to go is going to be the same as the decision process that you personally use when you're making a decision about which car to buy. Okay. Is that your process that you go through, and you're going to adapt it. Obviously, if you're just choosing a freeway off-ramp or picking which muffin you're going to eat for breakfast, it's much less impact. And some of those decisions are decisions you made a long time ago, and you're just getting the same muffin every day.
Right.
But in general, the way that you personally make decisions is specific to you. And that process is so second nature. You do it in every single one of those little tiny moments in your life, and then you see it blown out in big picture for the big decisions that you make. But it's always the exact same process. Your structure, your preferred way of making decisions is yours.
So I think that probably many of us think that the decision-making process is pretty ubiquitous, and you're saying that it's individualized.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, the way that you make decisions, I call it a soul type because it's like a blueprint, a thinking pattern that you're born with. And if you think about if you've had children or been around children, I know my own kids. When they were born, they came out with very distinct personalities.
Oh yeah, I have two, and it's shocking how distinct they are.
Absolutely. And I don't know about you, but mine were. One was very cautious. And when he would make choices, I remember one time I took him down to play at the fountains, and there were these little fountains that came up out of the ground, and he walked around very carefully looking at these fountains for a half hour. I just let him do his thing. He's walking in a circle and just watching until finally he decided it was okay to put his hand in. And he put it in, and he screamed, "I did it!" So excited. And then my daughter, who's there at the same time, and she's a full 2 years younger than him, and she just runs right in, full bore.
It sounds like you just described my two kids too. Yeah.
And that represents they are still like that today. That is their decision style. That's how they came out. So it really is. It's something that you're born with, and they didn't model their behavior on me or on their father. It was this is something that is specific to them, and it plays out in every decision that they make.
So, before we get into the individual styles of decision making, Is there an overall pattern to how a decision is made?
Yeah, absolutely. So so there's a sort of a universal pattern that we can look at. If you have to look at the way everybody in the world makes decisions, you can say, okay, this is the general pattern that everyone is going to go through. Uh-huh. Now, each of us is unique, and each of us takes that basic pattern of how you get from A to B, and we throw our own little personal flair at it. Okay. So it's going to look different for each of us. And what's awesome about that is that each of us adapts our own decision process to make us particularly good at solving a particular kind of problem. Okay. So that adaptation is actually it's incredibly helpful to know what your own adaptation, what is it that you are uniquely good at, but it also is it really is helpful as a society. As we're all differentiated, we're all good at solving different parts of the problem. Right. But if you had to say, okay, what is the general pattern? You're going to look at and in my book I adapted B. Audrey Fisher is kind of a very known, well-known person for sort of outlining how a decision process goes. And I took his and I adapted it to show it how it would work as an individual. And you go through, first you figure out about the problem, and then you go through your analysis, and you do your comparison, then you narrow it down to one, and then you commit. So you can break it down into these 4 distinct phases. Right. But
and so for me today, it was like I was looking at the problem, freeway was really backed up, and I knew it would, I was likely going to be late, and being late for a radio show that's live is not a good thing. So then it's like, okay, well, here's my other option, getting off and exit early, but I'm going to need some help for that, and in terms of guiding me navigationally. And so I assessed it, I made the decision, I committed to it, and then I followed through with it.
Yeah, right. And that fits beautifully for your specific decision style. Okay. So I imagine that in every decision that you approach, you're going to go through a period of and we can talk more specifically about your own personal style. But your style is not that different from that general model that I described. Okay.
So we're going to need to go to a quick break, but when we return, sorry, tripping over my words today. But when we return, I'm going to want you, Anne, to talk about what the various specific styles are and what the strengths and weaknesses are therein. More with Anne Tucker here when we return here in a few moments.
People living their lives for you on TV. They say they're better than you and you agree.
Brand consultant Jen Morgan is here with Radically Distinct Radio to help you take control of your future and maximize your brand's power to produce results. Whether you're an individual trying to reinvent yourself and launch a new venture, or you're an executive trying to reposition your company to modernize your sales and marketing programs, Jen Morgan and the RAD Method empower you to play to your strengths and show up in the world as your most powerful brand. To learn more, go to jenmorgan.com. That's Jen with 2 N's Morgan.com, or call 206-972-5366.
What is a brilliant culture? And how do we create them? Why are they important? Claudette Rowley has created a breakthrough 5-step process to help you design a culture that is authentic, innovative, and successful. Learn how to create change with Cultural Brilliance Radio, the DNA of organizational excellence, and Claudette Rowley. To learn more or work with Claudette, visit ClaudetteRowley.com.
This is Sarah Luce from Small Steps Big Breakthrough Radio. I want to invite you to join me and women across the globe for my Sister Spirit Party, where we're going to be teaching you how to lose those limiting beliefs, toss the struggles, lose all the old stories that keep you stuck, so that you can leap fully into your power in 2017. Girl, the world needs you to shine right now. So please join us for this powerful and fun group mentoring called Sister Spirit Party. And now, till February 10th, I'm going to give you $50 off your enrollment. So go to sarahluce.com and enter your coupon code SISTER50 for your enrollment discount. Girl, we need you to shine. Join us. Join the Sister Spirit Party. Let's get your power on.
I'm Christine Upchurch, and this is a Stellar Reflections Minute. As a former research statistician, my scientific background is what many would call sensible. For more than a decade now, I have been working in the field of energy medicine, facilitating sessions and teaching around the world. People from the mainstream often ask me, how did a sensible woman like you end up working in such an alternative field? Implicit in their question is the underlying assumption that the field of subtle energy, such as energy healing and intuition, isn't sensible. But I believe it is very sensible. Even scientists are able to measure aspects of this. Approaching life from an energetic perspective brings us new opportunity for healing and transformation. And from a practical standpoint, even if you can't rationally explain how something works, if you experience a shift from it, then doesn't it make it pretty sensible? Please visit stellarreflections.com or call 425-999-9836. That's 425-999-9836.
Welcome back to the Christine Upchurch Show here on KKNW and Transformation Talk Radio. I'm talking to Ann Tucker today about decision making. Now, Ann, before the break, you talked about sort of the general profile of decision making process, but you also talk about how we have individual processes, and you've actually categorized them. What are the individual processes?
So there are 7 different what I call soul types. And these are not personality types, so it's not attempting to define every aspect of you. What this is looking at is very specific. We're looking at how you think, how you solve problems, how you make decisions, and that's it. And by being so precise, it really does, it's much more accurate, and it gives you a real insight into really what I consider to be this very, very critical area about how do you that can then impact your life. Okay. So so I've given them all names, but when we can talk through the various attributes, but they all play a slightly different role in problem solving. So if you had to say in a problem, what are the different phases of problem solving, the different aspects of problem solving. So some people are particularly good at figuring out the problem itself. Some people are better at communicating about the problem. Some people are better at involving other people. Some people are better at the strategic aspects. So, and each of those strengths comes from how we make decisions.
Interesting.
So it's actually the actual decision process is what supports your way of thinking. So I can give you an example.
Sure, that'd be great.
So I believe your particular decision style is what I would call the learning style, and I don't know this for certain, but I'm guessing that that's true. And the learning style decision maker is what we would call like a repository of knowledge, or be the most open-minded of all the decision makers, and probably have a real love for learning. So what would motivate you most would be that feeling of mastery, the feeling of really be going deep on a subject or a skill or whatever it is, and becoming really knowing it at every level and becoming a true master at it. Does that sound like you?
It does, yes.
Okay.
And so, it's interesting because I need to not just know it on the rational level of knowledge. I also need to come to a state of knowingness about many topics.
Right. And that would be, a big source of your joy in life. So what that tells me is whatever path you choose in life, whatever purpose you pursue, it needs to bring in that aspect of yourself. It needs to give you the space to be able to go very deep on subjects, to become a subject matter expert, and to be exposed to new ideas. That would be really critical for you. So in the community, the role that you play is you play a role of almost like a neutral energy. That as other people are bouncing in different directions, you are very, very grounded and very able to discern and to see a broader pattern because you have this broader base of knowledge, and you're able to stay open-minded much longer than any other decision style. Mm-hmm. So as other decision styles have the ability to commit very, very quickly and be off and running, you'll be staying open and thinking about it a little bit longer. Uh-huh. So it may take you a little longer to come to a decision because it's really important to you to get the data, to get the information, good quality information, uh-huh. and not just a little of it. You probably want all of it.
Right. And I need to also see how it feels because I tap into my, the intuitive part of myself as well. So it's not just about the rational information, but yes, it's like I want to sense it, learn about it, and have a good understanding before I make decision. Right,
exactly. And so that ability that you have, not only to have to be a great source of information, to be open-minded, but you also bring an incredibly strong, logical, rational brain. Mm-hmm. So you're probably very, very smart.
Former research statistician turned energy healer. So
there you go.
Go figure, yeah.
And so you bring all of that to the table when you come in to make decisions. So other decision styles will come to you and bounce ideas off you, or when they bump up against you, mm-hmm. you can show them the gaps in their thinking. You can show them everything that they haven't considered that they should. You can either slow them down or speed them up.
Right. And I've never really understood people who view things as black or white, kind of like that things are just like this way or they're that way.
Right.
And I'm like, well, no, there's a whole lot of gray area here.
Right. And you probably hate to be rushed into a decision. I imagine that's really stressful for you.
Except when I'm on the road sometimes, like today, such as today, I really had to, I had to make a quick decision.
Right. And here's the thing is that you're probably very pragmatic, is that when the right decision presents itself, uh-huh. you have no problem committing and going, right? Uh-huh. That you have to be able to take that strategic view and just, if that's the right thing to go, I go. Because you have a ability to be more detached when you need to be. At the same time, if you run into an issue where you're not sure what to do next, uh-huh. That it's unclear, you may choose, because you're comfortable, you are more comfortable than anybody else in that neutral space, is mm-hmm. that you'll tend to sit back and observe.
Right.
So rather than rushing ahead, well, I got to choose something, I'll just pick this. You would prefer to sit back and wait for new information or see what changes to make the path clearer.
Oh, absolutely. And so what are the real downsides to this?
So for you, the biggest thing, so all of these things are major assets that you bring with you into uh-huh. any decision that you make. So clearly you're going to make really good decisions in general. Mm-hmm. You do have all of the assets that you need. The place that it might get you stuck is in that ability to stay neutral, is that sometimes if you have an opportunity and you're not sure which way to go, or it's not clear what the best path is, you might sit back and observe.
Right.
And if that happens, opportunities can pass you by.
Yes. And it's interesting, too, because, I was sort of defining for myself things that caused me the most pain.
Yeah.
Missed opportunities was high on my list.
Yeah. And that's for you. That's where doubt can get you.
Yeah.
And it also, in terms of the people around you. So part of your role through this, in this whole, as we're sort of co-creating, all of us together
Absolutely.
are co-creating. Part of your role is to be that neutral energy, is to be the logic and the reason that everybody else relies on. Uh-huh. And one of the ways is that so most of the time that's an incredibly powerful and positive role that you play. But when you're in that observant space, it can create a lot of doubt for other people as well as for yourself.
Oh.
Because for you, sitting back and waiting is a really comfortable place. Like, you are totally okay with ambiguity.
Yep.
If you don't know what's going to happen, you would much rather wait until it becomes clear as opposed to jump into something you're not sure of.
Right.
Other people, particularly other specific decision styles, that will drive them up the wall.
Uh-huh. I believe that.
Yeah. And it will create a ton of ambiguity for them, which is doubt. So that is a thing to look out for you specifically, where doubt can really creep into your process and into your life, is through the wait and see approach.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's how do you have this balancing act of staying in that neutral place, but also making decisions quickly and sort of jumping in when you need to?
Well, for, say, for example, you're trying to make a decision. And some decisions, if nobody else is involved and it really doesn't matter, do what feels good.
Right.
It's okay. Be easy on yourself.
Yeah.
But when it's important, and if you feel yourself stepping back into that neutral space and being comfortable in that ambiguity, the way to get out of that, if you're worried about an opportunity passing you by, is to not worry so much about the strategic view, is to pull back to the detail. Because where your head will naturally go is to this big picture, is I have to know where I'm going. I have to know the bigger vision.
Yes.
And instead, if you pull all the way back and just look right down at your feet and say, okay, what is a little tiny thing that I can do right now? So if you were trying to plan a remodel, right, if you're trying to remodel your house and you're like, okay, I don't want to make a choice until I see the big picture, until I know where we're going. Right. And you can't move because it's unclear and you're not sure and you're waiting and opportunity is passing you by. Instead, just go look at tile. Look at one thing. And if you make one little decision, if you just choose the tile, then that sets you up to make the next one. That first decision changes the landscape, and that starts to open doors for you. So you just take one little step at a time, and the tile choice might lead you to a paint choice, and pretty soon you'll start noticing the whole landscape is different, and you're comfortable making the grand decision.
Interesting, yeah. And then, you know, when you've made a few decisions, then it's like, okay, well, you can look at the big picture, and the big picture, as you're saying, is always really important to me. And then you might want to tweak something based on the big picture then. But that makes perfect sense. Yeah. And you've pretty much nailed me there, Ann. So you said there's 7 types. Can you mention at least one other before we go to break?
Sure. So my own soul type is called the optimizing style. And as much as so, and here's what's interesting is that you and I are what I call opposite soul types, is that we balance each other in terms of our creative energies. And my style is my role is to solve problems. And so is yours. We're both problem solvers, but we do it differently. You do it with your logic and with that analytical ability. My way is completely nonlinear. So my thought process is I don't go from A to B to C to D like you do. I go from A to M to Z to 2. And the skill that an optimizer brings to the table is to see things and recombine existing things in new ways to come up with out-of-the-box solutions. So if you take any word that starts with the letter RE, so redesign, rework, rethink, remodel, any of those, anything, that's what optimizers do. So they are specifically here to help to come up with unusual solutions to existing problems. Right. And what's interesting is that the growth pattern for each of us, your growth pattern forward, how you become a more flexible person and how I become a more flexible person is to grow towards each other, is for me to take on some of your attributes and for you to take on some of my attributes.
Okay. So can you give well, actually, we have to go to break. This is fascinating. More with Ann Tucker here in a few moments.
There's something wrong with the world today. I don't know what it is. Something's wrong with our eyes.
The 25th Annual Women of Wisdom Conference, Remember Who You Are, Honoring Ourselves, We Heal the World, is this February 16th through the 20th. WOW is calling for women to gather. This is the time for women to step into our power, support each other, share our stories, empower our dreams, and build leaders for our community and the next generation of women. Join us for life-changing, intimate workshops on diverse topics such as music, dance, art, sexuality, relationships, healing, goddess wisdom, life purpose, and more. Join us and be witnessed, valued, and inspired to discover your purpose and share your stories. WOW is one of the longest-running women's spirituality conferences in the world. You can register for individual events or enjoy the whole weekend. This February 16th through the 20th. Visit womenofwisdom.org.
Be unstoppable. Who do executive women count on for up-to-date information on everything from stilettos to being heard in the boardroom? To achieve excellence, you must first take control of your life and develop a successful strategy with the Unstoppable Diva. Tune in to Up or Out with Connie Fife, Mondays 5 p.m. Eastern, as she cuts through the BS to guide you to become bold, connected, and unstoppable. For more information, visit uporout.com.
On the cutting edge of the new mainstream, Christine Upchurch is passionate about bringing together science, psychology, and spirituality in a way that can be applied to our everyday lives for true transformation. The Christine Upchurch Show, stellar conversations to illuminate your journey, engages some of the most outstanding visionaries on the planet in lively dialogue to inspire you to become that bright light you're meant to be. Join Christine every Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time on KKNW, AM 1150, and Transformation Talk Radio.
Are you ready to stop stress, anxiety, and low self-esteem from running your life? Join award-winning author Dr. Friedemann Schaub for Empowerment Radio and learn breakthrough solutions to switch out of survival mode and approach every day with great ease, joy, and purpose. Tune in the first and third Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific to Empowerment Radio with host Dr. Friedemann Schaub on Transformation Talk Radio. Visit thefearandanxietysolution.com to learn more.
I'm Peggy Snow with another Stellar Reflections Minute. Presence, or what we think of as being fully in the moment, is a key element in the process of healing work. As a practitioner facilitating a session, genuine presence takes us out of our heads, where we tend to decide what is and maybe what should be for the client, and moves us into direct experience, where we're available to witness the person in their wholeness. In this receptive realm, our senses are heightened and expanded, allowing us to perceive what's seeking to unfold and to interact in the moment. There's something profoundly powerful that happens when healing is approached in this simple, pure way. Balance can be restored and healing can take place on multiple levels. If you'd like more information about the services we offer at Stellar Reflections, visit us at stellarreflections.com or call 425-999-9836. That's 425-999-9836.
Welcome back to the Christine Upchurch Show here on KKNW, WBLQ, and Transformation Talk Radio. I'm watching Benny over there getting into the music, playing air guitar.
I'm only smiling because, you live on the edge sometimes when you have to make a very crucial decision, whether it's sledding, happy birthday plans.
Yes.
I'm just running shows. This is how it works.
It is. And, I find the decision-making process to be far more interesting today than I perceived it to be a week ago. And the reason for that is Ann Tucker, who's the author of Undoubtedly Awesome, Your Own Personal Roadmap from Doubt to Flow. Now, Ann, you were talking a little bit about your own profile, and I forget what you called it. What did you call it?
The
optimizing soul type. And so you and I are polar opposites, and so as we grow, we become more towards each other.
Yes. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, and it's common as people become more flexible that you can adopt traits from different decision styles that you need to do particular things in life. So for myself, it's like for me growing toward you, adopting more, like you and I were talking about. There's a flow chart in the book to help people figure out their soul type,
right.
And that flow chart is very much a learning style type technique.
and just so people who are listening understand, many of you may be familiar with the flow chart, but probably not the entire world. And the flow chart, basically, there are these little boxes and you answer a question, yes or no. And then from that, you go down to another level. And there are other little boxes where you answer yes or no. And it takes you down to learn your soul type.
And the beautiful thing about growing in that way and doing it the way someone like you might have done it is it took what would have been a 22-question survey and broke it down to 3 simple questions.
Yeah.
So it was definitely worth the stretch.
And you said that you've got those 3 questions available on a website. Is that right?
That's right. If people want to know their soul type, they can go to the website for the book, which is undoubtedlyawesome.com, and available for free. You just go through and answer, right? If you scroll down right there, it'll say take the survey, and you answer 3 simple questions, and it'll give you a brief synopsis about your soul type. So it's different from the information that's in the book, but still really interesting.
Okay. So you've talked about 2 different types of soul types, and there's 7 total. What's another one?
Yeah. And about the optimizing style, I should say, just to round that out, is that I talked about how doubt would affect you as a learning style. So for me, being opposite you, doubt's going to affect me really differently and come into my decision in a different place. And this is where you and I are great partners, is that part of the way my decisions might look, that anyone who's an optimizer, the way the decision would look is that rather than going through the kind of analysis that you go through, you know how you figure out the problem and then you go through a comparison and you do your research and you look at different options?
Right.
Optimizers don't do that.
Okay. So what do you do?
Optimizers, they take a while to think about the problem, and then they'll get an aha moment, an inspiration. Uh-huh. And as soon as they get that inspiration, they fall deeply in love with their decision. Mm-hmm. And they're so in love that they see it in their head. It's like a visual thing where they can imagine that future existence where this thing they want to make is already done. And from that point forward, they're living in that future moment. Like you can't get them back. They're gone. They're living there. And it's like a little shortcut they take. They just completely bypass that whole comparison thing. And what they do instead is they do a little cheat, because they can make doing this process works really well for them, right? Everybody makes good decisions. We just do it differently. But the process that they use is, rather than looking for all information about the thing that they want to do, they instead only look for confirming information. So rather than looking for looking for negative reviews, they will just completely tune it out. And what they will look for instead is information that shows that what they want to do is possible. And that's all they do. So, and this actually works incredibly well as a way of being able to create new things, because they're less subject to doubt than some other decision makers might be, because they don't allow themselves to see the negative information, right? They stay in this future vision. So that's how they're able to play this role of being an innovator, right? It's because they don't subject themselves as much to doubt, but it can kick them in the pants later on. So if they've gone through this process too quickly, or if they didn't pay attention to negative information or disconfirming information, they can get to the end and realize, oh my gosh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. I didn't think it through. This happened to me when I bought the Windows Phone.
Oh dear.
Which was great, by the way. I love that phone, but there are no apps for it. But I was totally committed to the vision, right? I saw how everything was going to work together. It was going to be so awesome. Yeah. And I bought it, and then I thought, oh my God, I can't even get Redfin on this.
So both my sons ended up with Windows phones, and they're no longer on Windows phones.
I know, and it's really tragic, because it was actually I still like it better. It was a great phone, but the point is that I made that decision without really thinking through. I just fell in love with the idea. I fell in love with the possibility and didn't go through that process, and then in the end I had that regret. So for an optimizer, a thing that they can do to help them is to pay more attention, to deliberately go through that process of looking for disconfirming information, or they can run their ideas by someone like you.
Of course, the advantage of the optimizing one is that you jump on the bandwagon. I mean, you don't have to wait until there's a bandwagon to jump on. You're like driving the bandwagon
at
some
you
point.
You are the ultimate bandwagoner.
Yes,
it's true.
Yes. So there are 5 other types, right?
Yes. Yeah, 5 other types. So another type would be what I call the expressive style and expressive soul type. And the expressive is they are like our voice. So the expressive is their specific decision style tends to be what we would normally call much more impulsive. And impulsive, the word impulsive has a really bad rap.
It does.
When we think impulsive, we think, all kinds of addictive behaviors or speaking out in class when they're not supposed to be, right? We think of negative things. Impulsiveness it just means that you're fast. It means you're really fast, and it means you're making decisions directly from your emotion. Okay. So it's it has massive advantages that come with it. So when you meet an expressive, if you're in a meeting with a bunch of people and there's one person that you're still trying to figure out what you think about the problem that's been proposed, and you're still thinking it through, and you can't quite get a grasp on it. And then there's one person who immediately knows what they think, and they come up with something that sounds totally reasoned, like they've been thinking about it for 5 years, and it's really persuasive. That's your expressive.
Okay.
And what makes an expressive incredibly powerful is when they mix that ability to have a point of view right away with a solid background of information. So they have to have the discipline of staying on top of having good sources of information.
Right. Otherwise, people don't want to listen to them.
Yeah, right. And they will be the most persuasive people you will meet because they are able to they'll be the first people to speak, and they will have the strongest point of view. And they have a really strong internal compass, right? Their moral compass internally is what guides them. So if what motivates you is that feeling of mastery. What motivates them is a feeling of purpose, that feeling of being on a crusade or a mission or working towards a common goal. Right? This is what really lights them up. So they're driven by this feeling of like I said, they want to stay very true to what feels right and wrong in their own experience. So they'll always speak very truthfully and from the heart, but at the same time, or truthfully is the wrong word, actually. They won't always be truthful. Sometimes they will bend the truth for drama.
Yeah, I've known some of those.
Yes, yeah. But the point that they're getting across is the key, is to forgive the storytelling, to forgive the bending of the truth, because it's for a purpose and for a point.
And don't they try to trigger other people's emotions in order to persuade them?
For sure. Yeah. Right. And that's part of it. They're not speaking to your mind, they're speaking to your heart.
Right.
And that's where their skill is and you think about how does this play out from a society as we're all co-creating, is that their role is not only to create meaning for the rest of us, as they put words to the things that we're feeling and can't identify. And they take that, whatever sacrifice that you're making to try to create something, whatever you're doing, they help to give it a framework and to create purpose behind it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And we all need that for, whatever, particularly for larger decisions.
Right, right.
That's a really important piece.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to love to hear about the other ones as well, but we have to go to another quick break. More with Ann Tucker here when we return here in just a few moments.
And I feel all the faint morning light, filled with hope because you're here in my life, and we've gone from the edge of our souls.
I'm Christine Upchurch, and this is a Stellar Reflections Minute. Years ago, when facing cancer, without any immediate treatment options, I sought healing by making various life changes. For a while, I followed a very restrictive diet. I often found myself obsessing about which foods were good and which ones were bad. Then one day, I realized I was consuming foods based on fear of not getting well. But I didn't want to make choices out of fear anymore. I decided it was far better for my immune system if I allowed myself to experience the joy that came from, say, eating frozen yogurt, than it was for me to ingest the fear that came from avoiding it. Now, instead of choosing healthy habits based on fear, I try to make choices because they feel right and ultimately bring me joy and ease. How many of your healthy habits are really based on fear? Please visit stellarreflections.com or call 425-999-9836. That's 425-999-9836.
Tune in to Dynamics of Diversity Radio, scripting the new narrative for immigration with leading experts Kripa Upadhyaya and Steve Tanijo on TransformationTalkRadio.com. This show will remove the noise that often accompanies discussions on this topic and share a new perspective on the dynamics of immigration and diversity, ever reminding us that together we are all at the core of innovation, excellence, and positive change. Visit OrbitLawPLLC.com for upcoming topics.
What if your body and mind were the compasses to the secrets, mysteries, and magic of life? Glenna Rice, co-host of The Questionable Parent, is inviting you to access all that is possible. Glenna is a 10-year certified veteran access consciousness facilitator who offers an amazing variety of life-changing classes and workshops. Work with Glenna from anywhere, with teleclasses and workshops all over the globe. To learn more and see Glenna's current schedule of events, classes, and workshops, visit glennarice.com.
Have you been seeing numbers like 111 and 222 everywhere you go? Do you feel that the universe may be trying to get your attention, perhaps offering a message of some sort? As it turns out, numerical patterns and certain types of geometry form the very fabric of our reality, from cells under a microscope to the astronomy of our night sky. At Stellar Reflections, we offer special sessions which tap into these patterns, designed specifically to support you on your journey. The 111 and 222 activations are sessions activating new patterns in your energy field, which in turn can help you create new patterns in your life. After just one session with a practitioner, either in person or via distance, clients report gaining greater clarity, becoming more intuitive, and honoring their inner truth as they move forward in their lives. Curious about what these transformational sessions might do for you? Call 425-999-9836 or visit stellarreflections.com. That's stellarreflections.com. Welcome back to the Christine Upchurch Show here on KKNW and Transformation Talk Radio. You know, Ann, this hour is flying by, and I want you to repeat how people can answer 3 questions and determine what their soul type is for the decision-making process.
Sure. Just go to www.undoubtedlyawesome.com, and you'll see there, just scroll down a little bit, you'll see Take the Survey. It'll take you to, it's just going to give you 3 questions in a row, and it'll tell you, it'll give you a brief synopsis, not everything, but it'll give you a nice introduction to your soul type. Mm-hmm. So you can get an introduction to what it's all about.
And you also are creating something called Wisdom Soup. What's that about?
Sure. That is, Wisdom Soup is an online social learning community. And the idea behind it, when I first started going through this process of awakening, is I realized I was having a hard time finding information. I would meet a teacher and they would be interesting, and then you'd bounce to another teacher, but there was no continuity to it. It was hard to figure out which was the direction forward. I wanted something progressive. So that's what I created on Wisdom Soup. It leads you through a 5-step process over 12 months that helps guide you to speed up serendipity.
Oh, I love that. I love serendipity. So, yeah, anything we could do to encourage that is wonderful.
Yeah, and that'll be launching just within the next couple weeks. Okay. So the website is up. People can see it there, but it'll be a couple weeks before we open up registration.
Wisdomsoup.com.
Yes.
Okay, so, you and I were talking on the break about somebody I know and love well who he seems to be very slow at making decisions, kind of the way I am.
Okay.
Except he actually is plagued by doubt.
Okay.
And often either in terms of making a choice or once he's made a choice. What type might he be?
So you say he's a little slower to make decisions. And would you say that in general, is he fairly open about when he talks about things in his life? Does he give you the details, how he feels about it, or is he more factual?
It's really a mix. I mean, it depends on the situation. I think he tends to stick with facts more than feelings, but the feelings are an important part, I think.
Okay. And I'm guessing that he is, but he probably really enjoys one-on-one. Is he a people person, enjoys one-on-one interaction?
One-on-one, for sure.
Okay.
Not so much the big groups.
Okay. So it sounds to me like he's what I would call a coaching style of decision-making. And the coaching style is their main motivation is people. It's that strong connection to people.
Right.
And what's amazing about the coaching soul type is that they are able to it's really an amazing ability. They're able to look at people and see what's absolutely best about them, and that is how they see the other person. And they hold that up like a reflection. So when you talk to someone who is this soul type, you see yourself through their eyes. It's like a reflection of the person, the best of you, who you want to be.
Right.
And it brings that out in you. You want to live up to that vision of yourself, and that's truly how they see you.
Uh-huh.
And it makes them incredible managers, incredible people developers. So that's why I call them coaches, because they'd be amazing coaches. But they really are able to inspire others to be their best selves.
Interesting. So what are the other types?
There's also, let's see, what haven't I mentioned so far? There is the collaborative style, which is their particular thing is whereas the coaching style is about individual one-on-one interaction, the collaborative style is really about groups. And in any group that you belong to, the collaborative style you'll find them in the middle of it. Mm-hmm. And it's not that they want to be the center of attention. They are like the heart of the group. Right. And they pull other people in. They'll be the ones who will be showing up early to help set up and staying late to help take down. Yes. They're the ones that are the deepest feeling of all of us. Mm-hmm. And they are able to, the way that they bring us all together is they're always able to kind of connect and collect other people's opinion, get their buy-in. Mm-hmm. So as you're trying to get things done, a collaborator is the person that's able to pull other people into your project and create that group momentum around things.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah. And there are two others that I'm looking here at your list. Yes. The efficient soul and the experimenting soul.
Yes, the experimenting soul is their big gift is they're able to create momentum. So if you or I come up with a solution to a problem, right, because you and I are in the problem-solving bucket, that's what we do.
Right.
And we come up with a solution to a problem, great, now what? Right? Then you take it to them, to the I'm sorry, I'm just talking on the phone here and blanking out. The not expressive.
Experimenting.
Thank you.
I've read your book.
Right. Thank you so much. That was actually a test. I was checking to see if you read it or not.
Nice test.
So
Loved it.
Yeah, thanks. That was great. So, in the experimenting soul, so you have the idea, you take it to them, and they are able to launch it. They can go from 0 to 100 as faster than anyone else, and they're all about creating momentum about things. And the way they do it, their decision process is totally different from yours and totally different from mine, is they have an ability to look at a broad landscape of things. So they're really selective about data. They take in a lot of data, but they only want first choice because it's all about doing this quickly. And they'll look at that data. They'll pick out the 2 or 3 most important things, and that's part of their gift, right? That's where their intuition comes in. Right. They look at it and they know what are the 2 or 3 most important pieces of information. From that, they make an immediate choice, and they're off and running. And what makes them different, why I call them experimenting, is because they always keep Plan B in their pocket. Mm-hmm. So, and they're constantly scanning the landscape, looking to adapt and change. So they'll go in a direction, and they'll be looking, is this still the best choice? Is this still the best choice? If it's not, time to adapt. So they're able to turn on a dime and just keep that momentum going. So you'll find a lot of people with this decision style gravitating towards the tech field because it moves so quickly.
Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so regardless of our style, we make decisions on a regular basis. Some of them are fairly important decisions. And then what happens to some of us sometimes is that we begin to have doubt. Like, have I made the right decision? What's that about, and how do we sort of, fix that in a way that we're either committed or we shift directions?
Right. And this is, I think, is really important, because what do you do if you've made a choice and you're in it but you don't feel great about it, right? What do you do then? So it's one thing we're talking about knowing how you get into doubt in the first place.
Yes.
But once you're in it, what do you do? And the big thing to understand is, so if you're in that place, you basically have to press reset in terms of how you think and feel, really of how you feel about the decision. And, option A is to redo the decision, which isn't always the best choice. Sometimes you can't, right? If you bought a house or a car or you're in a relationship or career, whatever it is, it's not real easy to just say, do-overs.
Yeah.
So what do you do? And so the second option is that you have to change how you feel. And that seems much harder than it actually is. That the funny thing is that when you're in a decision, you're feeling bad about it, you're stuck in like the eternal now of emotions. And the way you feel about it, you think is a fact. You think that this feeling is a true factual thing because it feels so pervasive. But just imagine this for a minute. Imagine that you've been out all day, you get home, you plop on the sofa, you're exhausted, and you're supposed to go to a party that night. And you cannot in a million years imagine yourself going to the party, right?
Sure.
You don't want to go. And you're sitting in the sofa, and as you're sitting on the sofa, you can't imagine having fun. It's going to be dreadful because you're so tired. But somehow you manage to pick yourself up and you get yourself to go, and you go to the party, and you have a fantastic time. And once you're at the party, having an amazing time with all your friends, you think back and you say, I can't imagine if I had sat down and stayed on the sofa. Right? It's because whatever you're doing in that moment, whatever your emotions or experience right now feels like the eternal now. How you feel right now feels like you're going to feel that way forever. It feels like the truth.
Yes.
Right? But it's not. It's just a feeling, but feelings color the way we see everything. So if you're feeling doubt about a decision right now, it doesn't mean the decision is bad. It's just how you're feeling in that emotional eternal now, and you can change it.
Yeah.
So understanding that to begin with is just have faith that, okay, go through this process. You can change the feeling behind this decision. And what you really need to do is bring yourself back up to that moment of commitment around the decision. And when we talk about commitment, a lot of times you think all you have to do is make the decision, right? We think that it's like that moment where you hand over your credit card and you buy something, the decision is made. And it's not true. That's just one piece of the commitment.
So it requires commitment that goes beyond that. And we have run out of time, Ann. Again, Ann Tucker's book is undoubtedly awesome. Your own personal roadmap from doubt to flow. Ann Tucker, Ann, thanks so much for joining us here today.
My pleasure. It's been great. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us here today. I look forward to talking to you again sometime soon.
You've been listening to the Christine Upchurch Show, stellar conversations to illuminate your journey. Each week, this show engages some of the most outstanding visionaries on the planet in lively dialogue to inspire you to become that bright light you're meant to be. Join Christine every Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time on KKNW, AM 1150, and TransformationTalkRadio.com. For more information about the transformative healing work of Christine, visit www.stellarreflections.com. And for weekly topics, visit www.transformationtalkradio.com.